let's get into it. All right, Maria.
Oh, I just wanted to let you guys know I do have to leave like at 6:30, like on the dot. I have a thing for my learning community that I'm required to go to. So to let you guys know. Yeah.
Yay, go change the world. All right, so Maria, how about you introduce yourself first?
My name is Maria. I'm from Deltona, Florida, but I have lived in Connecticut for a couple years. And I'm an individualized major, currently working towards law, justice, and the family. And I'm trying to think, she, her, hers, those are my pronouns. So feel free to say those too in your introductions. And I'm the president of CCC, and also I love this student org. I say that everywhere, like on every platform. This is like my family, my everything, my world. So I'm not going to go too deep into that because I want to hear about all of you.
Thank you, friend. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brie, pronouns she, her, hers. I'm from New Haven, Connecticut. I'm majoring in music education as well as vocal performance. And I am the secretary and treasurer of CCC. So I do all the emailing and group chats and harassing you over text. That is me. And I'm in CCC, much so like Maria. We'll definitely introduce ourselves in more depth as the group becomes more, per se, meshed together, but I'm an independent student and a homeless student as well. So this club for me is something that allows me to help people, but also to get support myself. So this is definitely the network that I need right now as an independent student. So that's why I'm running this. For our new people, how about we have Aubrey? Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Aubrey. I'm from Connecticut, basically. My major is psych and HTFS. I also might have a neuroscience minor, but we'll see. And my pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm super, super excited to learn more about this club, I guess. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, and Lauren, tell us about yourself.
All right, I'm Lauren. My pronouns are she, her. I'm from Bristol, Connecticut. I'm an art major currently, but I'm also interested in anthropology, and I'm really excited to learn about this club.
All right, and Anna?
Hello, my name's Anna. I'm from Mexico, but I'm currently living in Stamford, Connecticut. My pronouns are she, her, hers. My major is physiology and neurobiology. I'm considering minoring in ASL. Like I really want to do it, but I'm also minoring in psychology. So I just want too many things. I can't do everything. So I'm trying to figure it out. And I'm really, really excited. Like ever since I heard about this, I feel like it's something that I don't really know much about. So I really wanted to know more about it and I don't know, like contribute and help, I guess, in any way that I can.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. Literally, we've been waiting to get you on board for so long. And yes, you can do everything. Do all the things. All the things.
If I say I can, it's most definitely you. So, yeah.
Can we have Sorabel?
Hi everyone, my name is Sorabel. I am a sophomore, she, her, hers pronouns, a pre-teaching major, hopefully elementary bilingual education. And then I joined because first of all, I love Brie and I just wanted to support. And I just feel like a club like this is so necessary on campus and there's nothing like it, which is really sad. So I just want to again learn more and yeah, be a part of this amazing club.
So glad to have you. And then Jalen.
Hi, my name is Jalen Brown. I'm from Granby, Connecticut. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm a political science major. I joined this club just because I thought it was really necessary and I love both these two ladies that started it. So it's really awesome.
My friend in the room, Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel. She, her, hers. I'm sophomore, music major, so that's how I know Brie, and speech language hearing sciences. And I'm here because Brie said I'm starting a meeting and you're welcome to sit in if you'd like. And I said, okay. So that's why I'm here.
Yes, bring your friends, bring your family, bring everybody. It doesn't matter. They don't have to come to UConn. Bring everyone you want. Thank you, Rachel. And Brie, are you there, my friend?
Hello, sorry my camera's off. I look
okay.
a mess again. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a junior on campus. I see some familiar faces from my floor last year. Wigs major, possibly human rights minor. And I joined CCC because I love Miss Maria over here. And I'm also an independent student and I didn't know about this organization. So I'm really excited.
And then last but never least, Alexandra, tell us about yourself.
Hi everybody, I'm a junior, double majoring in psych and HCFS. She, her, hers, and I'm joining this because I know both of you and I love what you guys are doing here.
Thank you.
Yay. All right. So now we're all a little warmed up. We know each other. And yeah, we're taking a picture because we're documenting this because I'm like a mom. I need pictures. So everybody put on your pretty faces. Everyone do it. Brie, we will find a picture of you and crop you in, sis, because you are part of this group as well. All right, here we go. She's LMAO. All right, hold on. One. Oh my God, I did it wrong. I did it wrong. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I got it. All right. Listen. This is my thing. This is what I do. I'm obsessed.
To be on the cover of a magazine.
Literally, we're gonna be on Vogue, all of us.
And what about it?
What about? Did I stutter? So, all right. So we're gonna get into some content today. I apologize. We don't really have like an activity to like get to know each other, but that's all right. We'll start doing that in the later weeks as well. But today, what we're gonna talk about is non-traditional students and special groups. So just as a starter, and you can throw out any guesses, what does it mean to be a non-traditional student? And anybody can answer that question.
Would that mean like not being a full-time student?
Yeah, for sure. All right, anybody else? And you can definitely expand upon this. There's really no wrong answer. We just want to get a sense for what you know. So that way we can, you know, give you some new information or reiterate some old information. So yeah, really good. Who else?
Can it also mean like first gen?
I missed the question. So what was the question?
Oh, so the question was, what does it mean to be a non-traditional student? And I'm going to paste that in the chat just in case you need some time to think. If your, you know, opinion changes as we do this, that's okay, because we're all here to learn. So yeah, what do you think it means?
I think, well, it could have to do with the fact that like you're financially, like you're on your own in a way, like you don't rely on family income or other income. It's just like you, yourself, and I kind of thing. So
yeah, so what you all said, exactly correct. That encompasses all of the experiences of non-traditional students. So you are on a roll. We're definitely going to learn some more about this as we go along. But my next question for you, and this one's a bit of a trickier question because it's not as commonly heard, but what does it mean to be part of a special population? And just give me your best guess.
Could that mean like needing certain accommodations?
Right, exactly. Anybody else want to add to that? Are we stumped? It's okay if you're stumped. Alrighty. So Lauren, you basically encompassed what special populations are. So I'll start with non-traditional. You all said the exact correct thing. So non-traditional students can be students who are parents. They can be pregnant students, students who are financially independent, students who are first gen. And for our special populations, this could include students with disabilities, students from economically disadvantaged families. And just to let you know that some of these special populations and non-traditional populations overlap. So it's all about being on this spectrum. It's not like, oh, I'm financially independent and I'm low income. So am I a special student population or am I non-traditional? It's all encompassing, and think of it as a spectrum. There's plenty of students that identify with multiple groups. Special populations can also be English language learners. So if English is not your first language, if you come from somewhere where you don't speak English at home, you are considered part of the special population because part of your college experience is that you have to accommodate to the language of everybody else. And I'm sure that Anna can relate, coming from Mexico. Yep, exactly. When it's not your first language, things are very different for you and you navigate college differently. So we see you, we hear you, you are a special population. And it could also be people who are unemployed or they're underemployed, say they're not making enough money to live check to check. It could be homeless students or students who have aged out of the foster care system, students who were past convicts as well. And it could also be a youth who has a parent who is in the armed forces. So there's plenty of ways to be considered for both groups. But like I said, just keep in mind that, you know, these groups overlap. So it's not black and white. It's not one thing or the other. You can be both. So with that, we're going to move into a quick activity. We're going to do a poll. We can start thinking of some things when it comes to being non-traditional and being in a special population. So I'm seeing some answers coming in. So name some challenges that our non-traditional students in special populations face. Scarcity, language, language barrier, lack of understanding and empathy, food insecurity, financial insecurity, being marginalized or othered, discrimination and instability. Exactly. Y'all are on a roll. Oh, it's changing. Applications. Yeah, for sure. How many of you, or had a friend that struggled with college applications or job applications because they didn't speak the language, or because they didn't have someone to write them a recommendation, or, they didn't have a cosigner for their rent? These are problems that people face every day already. So I'm gonna move on to the next question. How many non-traditional students are in the US? How many do you think? 453,000, okay. Yeah, very specific. They were like, yeah, I know this. Okay, about 1 million, okay. And any guess? Around 600,000, okay. About 1.5 million, over 1.5 million. Okay, all right. So there's actually 12.3 million non-traditional students in the US. There are in higher education, I'm not talking high school, middle school, that's a whole other margin, but in higher education, whoever said over 1.5 million, yes, it's actually 12.3 million out of 17 million college students. So that number is really big when you put it into perspective. I just wanted to see what you were guessing, because it really puts it into perspective for all of us, because we're like, damn, like we really need to open our eyes to this issue and realize there are more people that are like us than that are different from us. And we'll talk more about how non-traditional is becoming new traditional.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, to piggyback off that, it's almost coming to a point where it's like the normal student is now a non-traditional student. And I believe in a video we may or may not watch, it goes deeper into that, but that's something that opened my eyes and honestly made me feel better, just knowing that that's now the population of most college students.
Alrighty, and the last question, how many undergrads are financially independent from their parents? So you can either give a number or a percentage, just what do you think? Considering what you just learned, how many people do you think are financially independent? Now, remember, this is a small subsection of people who are non-traditional, right? 50%, 55%, okay. 35%, all right.
These are good guesses.
30%. All right, so 55% is the correct answer. About half of the undergraduate college population is financially independent from their parents. So that number, that seems small in comparison to how many non-traditional students there are in the US in general, but still keep in mind that this is a very small subsection of what non-traditional means. Again, going back to that spectrum of what's special, what's non-traditional, and how do they intersect. So that's something that we're gonna be exploring today. So I thank everybody for participating with that. We're gonna move on to our next plan of action. So right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna listen to a very quick podcast. It's 3 minutes long, and it's part of a series called The Changing Face of College, and it's from NPR. What they do is they take all these stories and all these issues that have to do with higher education, specifically with undergrads, and it talks about some of the challenges that we face as undergraduates, a lot of the challenges that are swept under the rug. So we're gonna listen to a very quick segment of that. Here we go. Let me know if you can hear it. Give me like a thumbs up if it sounds good or if it's too loud or something.
The non-traditional college student has become traditional. Of 17 million students attending college this fall, most have some way in which they do not fit the classic model of the recent high school grad with their parents' support. NPR's Alyssa Nadworny reports.
It's fall orientation at Anoka Ramsey, a 2-year community college just north of Minneapolis. Students are lining up to get their official college ID.
So Erin on 3, we're gonna click a photo.
Erin McKenna is a 19-year-old with bleached blonde hair. She takes a seat in front of the camera.
1, 2, 3.
And flashes a big grin.
Very nice.
She still can't believe this thing, college, is really happening for her.
I originally wasn't going to go to college.
Erin has been homeless and just assumed college was too expensive. After high school, she spent a year working, and then a friend suggested she look into the local community college.
Started doing a little more research on it because I'm like, there's no way it's this cheap. There's no way. And there was a way. It was very affordable.
She was able to pick classes that left her room to work full-time at a pizza shop.
Now I'm giving it a shot and seeing if I can do it.
The machine spits out her ID.
Welcome to Anoka Ramsey, you're official.
I look scared.
Students like Erin are perhaps not what you'd think of as typical college students. She's not right out of high school, she doesn't live in a dorm, and she's not getting money from her parents. But Erin actually has a lot in common with the average undergrad today.
being financially independent from their parents, delaying post-secondary enrollment by more than a year, working full-time while enrolled.
That's Alexandria Walton Radford, who directs the Center for Post-Secondary Education at RTI International. Other characteristics of non-traditional students: having a child,
being a single parent, not having a traditional high school diploma,
or attending school part-time. Walton Radford's research shows that 74% of undergrads have one of these characteristics. For nearly a third of college students, 2 or 3 of these ring true.
What we think of as non-traditional is really the majority of students now.
More than a quarter of students are taking care of a child. 1 in 5 are over the age of 30. About half of undergrads are financially independent from their parents.
Think of the added stresses and pressures that can create when you're attending school.
Erin McKenna waited a year before enrolling. About a third of undergrads do this, taking a year more off before starting school. And that can make academics challenging. Even remembering how to study can be hard. And starting up again can come with a lot of emotional baggage too. Here's Erin.
It takes a lot to say to yourself that you're not limited to what kind of cards you've been dealt in life, that you can get a better hand or gain the upper hand.
So what does this all mean for colleges and how to help these students graduate? Walton Radford says schools need to look to students' specific needs.
How many of your students are working full time? That should affect not just when you offer courses, but when you're offering these support services.
Like advisors, financial aid officers, and tutors.
Offering support services from 9 to 5 may not be that helpful.
Walton Radford says schools may need to invest in childcare or expand parking options for commuter students. And while we're at it, maybe we need a better term than non-traditional, considering those qualities are now the new normal. Alyssa Nadworny, NPR News.
All right, so what did you all think of that? And I know, Maria, you touched upon it very briefly, talking about how non-traditional is the new normal. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe get some ideas flowing for our friends?
Well, essentially, the stories that were in the video are not uncommon here at UConn, at other universities. These situations, and again, kind of like what Brie was explaining, all-encompassing, dynamic, they range, but they are literally becoming our new normal. And I think that even goes to like people in this group. I think we, even if we know someone who have gone through the things that non-traditional students have gone through, even if it's one part of it or the whole part of it, two part, you know what I'm saying? So I definitely think I guess I kind of want to ask a question to get the conversation going. What do you like agree with that? Kind of like, have you felt as though this is the new normal, like of what college students look like? From your own experience or from people you know, was this surprising? Because to me, it kind of was. Like, I didn't know that's like, this literally was our new normal. I almost thought of like, oh, it would only be a small percentage, but that wasn't the case, so.
No, yeah, I totally was surprised by it. I think just coming from the community that I grew up in which like people were typically not like had everything handed to them, because I don't want to seem like rude about it, but I came from a community where the majority of it was white and upper middle class, which meant that most of the students like had a car when they were 16 and it was brand new and like never really had to think about paying for college. So growing up kind of being like an outlier in that sense, like I had to think about how I was going to pay for college. I had to think about how I was going to be able to afford a car. I thought that going to UConn, like people would be just like the students that I was around. And obviously when I went to college, I did notice that not everyone was like the town that I grew up in. And just hearing this podcast definitely just furthers that idea that there are a lot more students that are like me and like you and like a lot of people here than I thought.
I guess like same, honestly, like I never thought of it as like me being like a non-traditional student, I guess. I mean, like language and stuff, yes, I've always seen that. But like also like I work and I pay for my books, I pay for everything. Like I pay for pretty much everything. Of course, like if I need something, like my mom will help me, but I don't want her to spend money on me because I feel like that's on me. And I thought it was kind of like a personal thing, if that makes sense. Like I thought it was just like me because I've seen my mom like struggle with like, I don't know, like paying rent or something. So I didn't want to put like pressure on her about like college, especially like moving to UConn, like paying for like housing. That's my decision. So I felt like it wasn't hers to pay for. And I guess like hearing that it's not a 5%, a 10%. It's literally like the majority of students can, like, they can relate to maybe not this, but like this, like non-traditional students. So I think it's kind of shocking. It's crazy. Like, I didn't think it was a thing.
Yeah, and to further that point, and I think when you go through things, it's easy to say, I'm the only one that's going through this. I'm the only one with this experience, because I do it all the time to myself. I'm like, nope, it's only you. You're the anomaly. But I think even for me, listening to this podcast and following this series made me realize that there's so many more of us than we think we are, which is why we need this, which is why we need community. Because if we don't talk about it, it's that thing of like, it's just me alone in this game. And it's not. Like, this doesn't have to be a game where you're playing alone. So I really like that you said that. But you know, what other comments do you have? How does this make you all feel after listening to this?
For me, I feel like it's not really surprising the amount of like non-traditional students. But I think it's kind of like shocking in the sense that you like don't really hear about it, and like that's how many like people's like voices or stories or like such might be like silenced, I guess, like because you don't hear about it, but it is common.
Those are some really good thoughts. And just following up from that, so what support services do you think that UConn could provide for students like this? And I'll paste it in the chat so you can have some time to think.
I actually find this question really interesting because I just became an independent student at the beginning of this semester. Like, I was trying to become one last semester, and it was probably the most difficult thing that I've ever had to go through. Like, it took me months to get it approved and to get every signature I needed, to get every letter that I needed. It took me so long to get this thing figured out. To have been able to know in the past the resources that I did have would have been so much more helpful, because I genuinely did not know that there was anybody, not that there wasn't anybody else going through this, but like you said, like you just feel alone because you just have no support system, nobody to help you go through this whole journey, whatever. So like I wish I had like known all of this information before, because I feel like it would have just made the struggle so much easier.
For sure, I hear you completely. I went through the same thing as well last year, where it was like, where do I go? How do I do this? What do I do? But yeah, for sure, I think having a center for our non-traditional students, or our independent students at least, would definitely increase retention as well as graduation rates, especially with our students of color. But that's a whole other argument anyway. But I see the clapping hands. I see you. But yes. What are some of our other friends thinking when it comes to this? What can UConn do? Because I feel like a lot of times UConn is just kind of like, oh, okay. But what can UConn do?
I don't know if like UConn itself, like right now, like as like, I mean, undergraduate students, but I guess like even like high schoolers, like they should like guide students to like through the path to like actually like apply and stuff like that. Because like I know like in my school there were a lot of like ESL kids that didn't get any help, like no one like guided them. So I feel like even if like colleges, I feel like they should try to, I don't know, approach those kids. That way they're like, all right, you know what? This college is like helping me. Maybe I can actually like go to the University of Connecticut, not just the community college, because that's what everybody keeps telling me. And maybe I want more, if that makes sense. Like, I guess like a way for UConn to approach students that don't even know if they can apply to UConn because like they don't know what to do, if that makes sense. I don't know.
That's a really good point. And that actually leads us into our next thing that we're going to watch together. So thank you for that. But I just want to say, like, if anybody has any other comments or things that you want to add to this, you can add it right now. But if we're good, do you want to move on to the next video, or how are we feeling? Thumbs up? I'm saying, show me your thumbs. All right, cool. So great. Anna, you had mentioned that recruitment effort, that effort to engage students at the high school level and just starting early. So this video that I'm gonna show you all, I'm gonna share my screen in just a minute. This video that I'm gonna show you all, it talks about means and ends.
So those are our students, and I guess you would consider them non-traditional, although pretty soon they'll be just as traditional as everybody else.
Right, exactly. Wes, what would you say we're looking at?
And I agree, and if anything, they already are. They really are the traditional students already.
Right.
And oftentimes when you look at the frame, we're talking about students who college wasn't made for them. Right? Because I think we have to be honest about the fact that when higher ed was created, higher ed was made for 15 to 20% of the population, right? Higher ed wasn't made for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Higher ed was made for a sliver of the population who was supposed to attend these schools. Everybody else was not. And so the non-traditional students that we're talking about now, we're really talking about students that college was never made for you.
Right.
And so as we're having this conversation about how do we then adjust colleges, that the idea of access to students is important, but it's not just going to be about access, because the framing of the college was never made for those students in the first place.
So the issues are certainly affordability, completion, right? I think completion is obviously an issue for all colleges, all kinds of students, but I would think particularly for this cohort, if we want to call it that.
Yeah, well, I think completion becomes and I think this is also how do we distinguish between means and ends, right? Because I think completion needs to become the larger ends that we have for all our students. But when we're talking about the means, we are talking about how we were addressing areas of affordability. How are we understanding the fact that we're watching wages stay relatively flat, we're watching college tuitions continue to rise, and we're watching that divide take place, right? We're talking about the fact that when we're talking about accessibility, that it's not just it's not just tuition, but it's cost of attendance.
Right.
It's about the fact that what is it going to cost to live? What is it going to cost to eat? What is it going to cost to have all the other things that factor into it? It's also talking about what are we doing when we're thinking about the academic preparation for students who are coming on board. So the ends becomes the completion, but there are many variables that determine the means that make completion a reality or not.
So can you tell us about the ASAP program or ASIP? I don't know how you this is a CUNY program, correct?
Correct.
And this was aimed at helping New York City students?
Correct.
Okay, so tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of Robinhood, and Robinhood helped to create and fund a platform program called ASAP. And really what ASAP looks to do, it's address the idea that it's not just going to be about the tuition oftentimes that's going to keep a student from being able to complete. It's also some of the other factors, the other financial factors. Sarah did a great job earlier talking about this idea about the food insecurity for many students. And it's also things like in New York City, our subway system, people use things like called Metro cards. Our students, if they don't have Metro cards, how are they able to then go from where they live? And again, when you're watching the rising costs of living, more students are getting pushed further and further out. So if you have students getting pushed further and further out, how are they then getting to the institution of higher education? It's also thinking about things like, oftentimes when people talk about internships and that type of, platform, which are really important for students. But the truth is, if I'm a student who is an under-resourced student, an internship sounds great to me. But if I have any free time, I'm getting more hours at my job.
Right.
And so it's all these other factors that play into why completion matters and what is the point of the completion that ASAP really has a core focus on. And what ASAP has done in a relatively short period of time, it's not only doubled the rate of graduation for the students that are inside of the ASAP platform in the CUNY system, but it's also now being adopted across a larger city platform, because we believe, and part of the role of foundations in our opinion, is how are we using our capital to essentially de-risk? How are we using our capital to put towards things that have the potential for growth and expansion? And then how are we then presenting the options to the largest expender of all, which is our government?
Right.
And then how do we use them to be able to make sure these type of platforms that are working are then accessible to a larger population?
Right.
So what did we think of that? First thoughts, initial thoughts, just after hearing him speak. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about, the program he's running, but just in general, after hearing some of the points he touched upon. What do you think?
I think he mentioned something that is really true. I guess when you're applying to college, there's a lot of requirements, and one of those is community service and this and that. And honestly, like personally, for example, I moved here junior year, and that's a really important year. I could never do any community services, nothing, because I was working. So it's my hours of community service, they were zero, because I just couldn't. My free time, it was just me working, or me doing something in my house, if that makes sense. So it's I think that was a great point, that it's there's students that will try to do things like that, like internships, but they just can't, because their priority, I guess, is saving money, working, so they can afford to do things for others is I don't know, they don't have to worry about food or stuff. So I guess that's a great point.
Right. And just taking from that question, I have another question for you all. Do you think post-secondary education, now I'm talking college or grad school, do you think that it's a necessity or that it's a privilege? What do we think?
I think that in this new era that we're kind of coming upon, it's either you have some sort of trade or you go to college. like there are some people obviously that have special skills that kind of get them past. But for the majority of my friends, like they didn't know what they wanted to do with their lives, but they're like, I'm going to college because there's nothing else that I can see myself doing. Like, I don't have a skill. I don't think I'd be good in trade school. Like, this is it. And since everyone's going to college, the price like of a college degree is kind of lowering because everyone's going to college. So it's becoming more of a necessity because jobs that like used to be basic, like I've seen jobs that come in at like $35,000 a year, which is barely enough to survive, you need a college degree for. So it's becoming more of a necessity as time goes on, which is scary, honestly.
So by a show of hands, who thinks college is a necessity? And be honest. Okay, now by another show of hands, who thinks college is a privilege? Okay. All right, now who thinks they're both? Yeah. So I feel that with college, it's that back and forth. It's like, should education be a privilege or should it be something that we are entitled to? And that's something that we're gonna keep exploring within these next weeks. So thank you so much, Jalen, for that, because it really does put into perspective that, you know, the job market is closing for our friends who don't have college degrees, and that's unfortunate because they have so many other things that they have to worry about, so many things that are holding them back, unfortunately, that are out of their control. In the podcast we just listened to earlier, it spoke about how with Erin, the young girl, how those were the cards she was dealt. And oftentimes that's something you can't mess with fate. If you were born into something, it is up to you to either recreate that and change it, or you're going to have to accept it and work with what you have. And sometimes you can do both. And that kind of leads me into my next point, which is what we're going to talk about for next week. We are literally right on time. Oh my God, I love it. So it's about to be 6:45, but and if you all have any other like questions or comments or concerns, feel free to use the group chat. We can keep having dialogues about these sources, but like I said, I want to keep y'all, you know, on schedule and everything. So my next thing I just want to tell you about is education for sustainability. Now, Maria's going to be leading us in a presentation next week talking about education for sustainability. And it basically goes into all the aspects of sustainability, from the resources that are used in classrooms, like pencil and paper, to, you know, how can students get to school on the school bus with carbon emissions and things like that. And it talks about how education should be providing clean, healthy, and safe environments for students, also to promote growth. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how some of our urban communities and underprivileged communities don't have access to biodegradable paper and pencils in school, and how that can shape their education. I'm someone who's very passionate about sustainability. If you are too, please come, show up and show out, because we're going to talk all about it next week. Maria's going to be leading it. But before we leave, does anybody have any questions, any comments or concerns, anything at all? Good? Yes, no? Did we learn today? No, yes. Oh, we learned, oh yeah, we did. Alrighty, so it is now 6:45. I wish you all the best Thursday night. I hope you all come back next week and bring a friend. That's your challenge.
As long as I could bring my dog.
Yes.
Then we're good.
Always bring pets, never hesitate. We love pets. But yeah, so with that, I'll hang back for a little bit. If you want to talk one-on-one, that's fine. I will be here, but for now, you can all head out and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I know it's only Thursday, but tomorrow's Friday. So keep the faith.
Can I like take a picture so I can post it on my Instagram too?
Of course you can.
Line or something. Okay.
Yes.
Ready? All right.
Yay. Yeah, Anna is like an Instagram influencer. Go follow her. Everybody go follow her. All right, ladies, that's all I've got for today. So feel free to go enjoy your dinner, hug your dogs, hug your families, do good things, get your homework done.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.